and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hi, my name is Anna, and as you can tell by the title of the video, we are doing a reading vlog dedicated to Empire of Silence by Christopher Ruggino. I don't know if that's how you say it, and that's how you pronounce it. I am reading it digitally. This is my Kindle, and I am 40% through, okay? I was planning on doing an update when I had read 25%, but that just did not happen. I didn't have time to film, but I do have, of course, a lot of updates to give you. So, first of all, my first impression of the book was actually amazing. You know, I think around 20 to 25% I was loving it. I was loving to get to know Hadrian and how the relationship with his father was non-existent, basically, with his father or with his mother, because I don't really know how to explain, because this is a lot of science fiction, and I'm not really into that genre. You know, it's just not something that I like to read about. It's not my favorite setting at all. But basically, we do have, you know, the humans, they rule the entirety of, I don't want to say the galaxy, but I think even more. I think they rule a lot of the universe, actually. But they are at war with some weird white creatures. I don't know their name. I think they're Sicilian, but that's the thing. I don't think it's pronounced Sicilian. I don't know how you pronounce it. I'm going to put it here, what they are called, but they are just some weird white creatures. They are at war with them, so there is a war going on, although in Hadrian's planet, Delos, it feels, you know, kind of distant because they are not directly at war, and one of the main things that Delos does, you know, Hadrian's planet is known for, is for exporting uranium, and that is what they mostly do. They export a lot of uranium, and I think what happened was, you know, in the beginning of the book, and this is not a spoiler by any means, one of the planets that actually produced uranium as well actually produced more than Hadrian's planet. You know, I think he was the second best at producing uranium, you know, the second planet that exported more uranium. They were actually attacked and completely consumed by those white creatures. So now that second place goes to Hadrian's planet, Delos. So now they have to export so much more uranium, but they are having trouble doing so because they just have not given the best conditions for the workers to actually extract the uranium. You know, they don't have machines, they don't have anything. The problem is the machines are way too expensive. So of course, they're just not going to give those machines, and they're just going to be like, oh, well, you have to work with what you have, you know. It is what it is, basically, which is very, very unfortunate. But this is just sort of the context that we are living in, or that Hadrian is living in. And he doesn't really have a good relationship with his family at all, because his parents do not care about him. In fact, they are not even conceived in the normal way. I think the way that he was conceived was kind of like in this, I don't want to, it's not a box, but that's the thing, I don't know how to say it in English. Oh my god. So you're going to, a capsule. Okay, just imagine a capsule, right? And they pick the best genes, the best DNA from both of the parents. You know, they're all genetically modified to be the best. Really tall, slim, you know, just look good. I think they don't even have beards. Yeah, like they literally took out that gene. So Hadrian wasn't even conceived in a natural way because his parents do not love each other. And it's actually very common for, you know, noble people, rulers to not do that. So you can see that there's not really a relationship there with the mom or with the dad. And not just that, even with his brother Crispin, Hadrian just does not have a good relationship at all with Crispin, because Crispin is very similar to his father, and Hadrian is not at all. And naturally, if he doesn't have a good relationship with his father, having a good relationship with Crispin that is very similar, it's just not going to work out, you know. And he has always felt lonely, and not even that, you know, he never wanted to be the ruler. He never really wanted to step up to his father's place. He always wanted to become a scholiast, you know, a scholar, which who doesn't, you know. I would also love to be one myself, but he never wanted, you know, to take over his dad's place. But he also doesn't want his little brother to do that, because his little brother, he is very impulsive, he's just very aggressive, violent, and he understands that Crispin is not going to be a good ruler at all, and that's why he always kind of fought to be seen, because his father constantly tries to shove him aside, even though he is the oldest. In this day and age, being the oldest doesn't really mean anything, because the father can pick the heir, but generally, you know, they do tend to pick the eldest. So Hadrian was always a little bit appalled by his father, always pushing him aside, because he is the older brother, you know, and he always tried to fight, always tried to show up, but in fact, you know, Hadrian's father just didn't want him to rule, because he always said, you're too soft, you are too soft, you're not going to be a good ruler at all. But Crispin is also not really a good ruler. So this is just how the book starts, and of course things go downhill, because Hadrian does something that he was not supposed to, and now his father's like, okay, you misbehaved, you're not going to be my heir by any means, I'm actually going to exile you and fly you to a different planet, and you are going to become part of the church. You know, it's just this big church religion that the entire universe has, where, you know, they actually believe that the planet Earth is going to come back. You know, we destroyed planet Earth, so we had to find life elsewhere. And in this religion, it's kind of like, okay, if we all just stop with our sins, if we all compensate for our sins, and we delete the sins from this entire universe, Earth is going to come back. And it's very silly because it's like Hadrian said, it's a rock. It's a freaking rock. It's not going to come back. And as you can tell, Hadrian does not want to be a priest. He's like, I don't want to be this. I don't want to be an inquisitor. They just spread hatred, you know. It's not even hatred, they spread violence. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. They spread a lot of violence with the Inquisition. They are constantly, you know, harming people, torturing people, killing people, and that's not what Hadrian wanted to do. So he does have a plan, or he had a plan to become a Scholiast, and he actually managed to run away with the help of his mother. His mother was like, you know what? I know I've never been good to you. I know I never paid attention to you, but I really do want to help you. I don't think your father should do this to you. You don't deserve this. So you're actually going, you know, on the ship. It's trustworthy. Go on the ship, go where you need to be so you can become a Scholiast. And he has a very important letter from his mentor, because his mentor was a Scholiast. And in this world, you can only become a Scholiast if another Scholiast recommends you. So he had the recommendation letter right in his pocket. But of course, nothing goes as planned, and he was just left stranded on this planet. You know, the people at the ship ditched him. They said goodbye. They took his shit, and now he does not have the letter with him, which is very, very sad. He doesn't have the letter. I think he does have his family ring, though, because they did keep things of value. So the letter is just gone. You know, it's gone. He doesn't know where it is, and he has been on this planet stranded for a very, very long time. And this is where it got boring for me. So it was around the 25% mark until 35% maybe, where it just became boring, because I was like, okay, I don't really, you know, I just still haven't formed a connection with Hadrian that much. You know, I haven't formed this really big connection to this character where I want to learn everything that he did on this planet, how he was homeless, what he did to survive, because we've heard the story many times. So I do confess I was a little bit bored, because I was just like, okay, I really don't care. Like, I don't care what happened to you. I am so sorry. I know it sounds insensitive, but I just don't care. Like, I just could not get myself to care. And this is where, you know, the fact that the book is slow can be detrimental, because it can have these parts where it feels extra slow, extra sluggish, and for me, it definitely felt that. But it has picked up, because Hadrian, he had an idea. He was like, okay, how am I going to make money so I can, you know, rent a ship and just get the hell out of this planet? He decided to join the Colosseum, and the Colosseum, it's basically what we know as gladiators, you know, the sport that the Romans had. And he was like, okay, I'm going to sign up and make some money this way, because he did have the privilege of an upbringing where he learned how to fight. You know, it was one of the requirements that his father had, was learning how to fight. So he does know how to fight, and now he's at the Colosseum just making the money, making sure that his colleagues also survive, because we do find a lot of people there. It's just very heartbreaking to see some people there. You know, one of the women, she's there because she wants to save money for her son to go to college, which is insane. We have another guy that he was just trying to run away from a very terrible life, and it's just a little bit heartwarming to see how Hadrian is trying to take care of all of these people. He is soft, you know, he is soft like his father said, but so far this is what has happened. And like I said, I am enjoying this, and I do think this is going to be a solid 4-star, but alas, I don't think this is going to be the 5-star that I was looking for, because this year, believe it or not, I still have not found a 5-star book by any means. I don't know what is wrong. I don't know what's happening. And I actually thought that this one was going to be a 5-star, but I've seen, you know, the sluggish moments. I've seen how slow the book can get at times, and I think it's not going to be the last time that this is going to happen. People do say that it does improve from book 1, and I am really hoping that that happens, because this is a very long series, so it better be better than book 1. You know, with each book, it better get better and better and better and better. But alas, I don't think this is going to be my 5 stars, which is okay, which is fine, but I am going to be reading more. I don't know when I'm going to give you guys another update. I do know I want to give you an update when I am 60% through, so I am 40% through, so I do need to read a lot more to get to that mark. And maybe this week, I do hope this week, you know, fingers crossed, that I have time to read and reach the 60% mark, where I have, you know, so just some more updates to give you. I have finally reached, you know, the 70% mark of Empire of Silence, so I do owe you guys an update. And let me tell you, it is picking up and it is getting better. But one thing I do want to say is I was so bored. I was so freaking bored, because here's a problem that I do have. I actually don't have any problem whatsoever with slow books. I've always mentioned this. I actually do like slower books, because we do get to know our main character a lot, and that is something that is happening in this book. Don't get me wrong. We understand Hadrian in and out. We understand all of his thoughts, all of his opinions, just everything in general, and we can really predict how he's going to act in certain situations. However, I am still not that interested in Hadrian for some reason. I don't know why. I think I'm just, I'm not interested and I'm not invested to the point where I do want to learn about his routine and about, just the itty bitty details, because we already had that in the beginning of the book. And the fact that we are, 50% or 60% through the book and nothing has really happened. This was one big ass prologue, let me tell you that. That's just exactly how I feel. I feel like until the 60% mark, everything is just a prologue, which it's kind of aggravating because only then we do start to get a little bit more of a plot and a narrative. And that's something that I always enjoy in, any type of book that I'm reading. It can be a very, very slow book, but if I don't have a plot or a main plot point in the beginning of the book, I don't really like it. I just really want to see something, and it can be a minor plot point, just something that I can hold on to. And we did have that in the beginning, but then we completely lost it in the 35% mark, and then we found a little bit one again, and then we lost it again, and only now are we picking up with the main plot. I think, at least that's what I believe, this is going to be the main narrative of the book. I don't really want to give too many spoilers, but in this universe, the humans are seen as a superior race. We conquered a lot of planets throughout the universe. We are, the biggest empire that has ever existed in this universe, and we truly believed, that we are superior to a lot of people and a lot of races. So that's why we enslave every single race that we find. Literally, that's the only thing that us humans do, which is disgraceful to say the least. But honestly, it's on character. I can't even, unfortunately, I can't even say that us humans wouldn't do that. We absolutely would. So that is exactly what is happening. And you do have this very, religious organization, the Chantry. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm not sure. They are very strict with their religion. Instead of worshiping gods, they worship the earth. Literally our planet Earth, and they worship it, and anyone who is against this religion is deemed a heretic and completely executed. And of course, Hadrian, he doesn't really believe in this religion because I think I said this in the previous update. It's literally a piece of rock. It's a piece of rock floating in the universe, just out there in space. It's not coming back. Doesn't matter how many times we pray, Earth is just not really coming back. That's just not how it works. So you do have this very powerful organization, and they sell the story that us humans are the best. We have always been the best. But we have actually learned right now that there are some ruins throughout some planets that actually date before we expanded. So now Hadrian, he's trying to find out these pieces, and of course the Chantry, they really don't want this to get out. And he did point out something very, very interesting, Hadrian, because he did ask, the person that was telling him all of this, he did ask, okay, why didn't the Chantry, this religious organization, why didn't they just destroy the ruins? Why do they keep the ruins? And that's the thing, even when they go and investigate the ruins, that's just what they are, ruins. There's no artifacts, nothing, not even a plate, not even a fork, nothing that dictates that someone was there, that another people was there. It's just, constructions. And they date to a lot of millennia behind, I think even millions of years behind the human expansion. So, of course, Hadrian is okay, who is the species? Because we have always been told that us humans we are the smartest ones around this universe. That's why we have the right to conquer and enslave all of these people, because we are better than them. If we didn't do this, they wouldn't have nothing. So I am quite excited to see where that plot point is going. I am quite interested in it. I'm not going to lie. But that's the thing, it's only now. It's 70% through the book, you know what I'm saying? And of course, Hadrian, he's doing things that he should not be doing. He messed with someone that he should have not messed with. And now he's facing the consequences of that. And I am expecting, a lot of things to happen, especially because the way that this story is told is Hadrian, after everything in all of his life, I think he's trapped in a cell currently, and he's just retelling his story. So you do get some snippets of him commenting oh yeah, at the time I thought this was genius, I thought I was a shit, but apparently I was not. And I just really like that commentary, because even Hadrian, when he is retelling the story, he is giving us a little bit of hints, why they call him the Sun Eater, why he's going to be so important for this war against I know it's not Sicilian, that is a country. I don't know why I keep saying Sicilian, but the alien race that they are currently fighting, I know he's going to be important in that war. It's just taking so freaking long to get there. So that is literally the only update I have for you guys. I don't have anything else to say because obviously I don't want to give spoilers. I do enjoy the writing, and I do enjoy how the author really is capable of showing us just how Hadrian feels and how he thinks. I do really enjoy that. But again, it's just I want the plot to keep moving, and the plot just does not move whatsoever, which is really, really sad. But I am going to continue reading this week. I don't think I'm going to have a reading vlog for you guys next week, because I was planning on having, the Empire of Silence reading vlog next week. But I'm only 70% through, and I think every time I do read, which is 1 hour and 15 minutes in the morning when I do read Empire of Silence, I think I only read 5% of the book, so I don't think I'm gonna, I just really don't think I'm gonna finish this next week. And even if I do, I think it's going to be by the end of next week, which means that I'm not gonna have time to film and edit everything to have everything ready for Friday, next Friday, which is kind of sad, I'm not going to lie, but this is literally the only thing that I do have. Honestly, I don't really mind the fact that this book is science fiction, because like I told you before, I don't really enjoy science fiction that much. It's not really my thing. It's not really my setting. But this book literally reads like a fantasy. It really does. Like the structure, the narrative, everything is so similar to a regular fantasy book that I actually don't mind the fact that, this is, to me, it's just a fantasy book set in space. Literally, this is just a fantasy story set in space. And especially because it is inspired so much by the Roman history, it really does feel like fantasy. And also, let me just say this. Why is everything inspired by Romans? Why is everyone so obsessed with Roman history? I really don't understand why. And maybe this is just me, this is just me, but I never really cared for it. I don't really care for Roman history. Like, of course, I do recognize everything that they did for us as a civilization, but still, like, why are people so obsessed with this? Because also The Will of the Many is inspired by, just Roman history and Roman traditions and all that kind of stuff. So I really just don't understand what is the obsession with Roman Empire. I really don't. I just don't really understand that. I wish people had the same energy for Celtic mythology and Celtic history, because that one I enjoy so much more. And I've told you before, I am reading The Daughter of the Forest by Julie Merlier, and I'm loving it. I'm loving it. It's going to be 5 stars for sure, or at least I really, really do hope so. But yeah, I just really don't have anything else to tell you guys. Honestly, I'm so tired today because I was very, very productive today. I'm not going to lie, like, my throat hurts from talking so much because I also filmed another YouTube video. So I think I'm just going to drink some water, relax, tidy everything that I need to, because my room is a little bit of a mess. And then I'm going to have a snack, and I'm just going to play some Animal Crossing, because girl, do I deserve it. Reached the end of this reading vlog, because I have indeed finished Empire of Silence. And honestly, and it was actually a little bit funny, because I was thinking on giving you guys an update when I was like 90% through the book. And what happened was, I was, I think, 91% or 92% through the book, and I thought, okay, I still have some pages left, so I do think I can read a little bit more and still give you guys an update. Turns out, no, because the book actually ends way sooner. I think it ended when I was like 93, 94%, because the end glossary is just so freaking long, and I actually did not know that. So I finished the book. I actually ended up finishing the book, and I'm so sorry that I didn't give you guys a last update, but it is what it is. We're here now. And honestly, for some reason, I don't really have anything much to say, much that is new. Of course, I don't want to give you guys spoilers, but the reason why I don't really have anything new to say is because I actually don't have many flaws for this this book. The only flaw that I can truly point out is the fact that 60% of this book is a prologue. Like I said, I don't usually mind it, and I don't really mind it because it is a 7-book series. I think it's 7 books out, so I don't really mind that the first book is a prologue. Now, what really aggravated me was the fact that it's a prologue, but it's a prologue without any story whatsoever. So we're just literally following Hadrian's life until 60% of the book, and it's boring. I'm going to say it. Like, there were some parts that were actually boring. I was not interested in them whatsoever. Of course, I knew that the invading alien species is going to be a big part of this book because they are, the humans are at war with the species for 400 years, but it was so briefly mentioned in this 60%, of the book that I was just like, okay, like, where is this going? I just don't really understand. I understand that we do need a setup for Hadrian. Of course we do, but I did wish that the author had included a little bit more narrative into this part because, like I said, there were a lot of times where I was just a little bit bored. I was like, okay, I know this happened to you. It sucks, but can we please move forward? Like, is this gonna have any sort of connection to the story? And it really didn't, and it reminded me a lot of The Name of the Wind, where we're just following Quoth's life, and that's why I just couldn't really connect with the book. It was beautifully written, but the thing is, I'm a person that loves plot. I love the plot, I love a good plot, I love a good narrative, and if I'm just following somebody's life, it's just not going to end up working for me, and that is why my final rating for Empire of Silence is going to be 4 stars, because like I said, there were times where I was just bored, but after the 60% mark, stuff does start to happen, and honestly, I am really, really intrigued, because the ending, oh my god, like, I just need to know what is going to happen. And without giving too many spoilers, of course, the alien species, it's not the Sicilian, like, that is literally a country, but I don't know how to say it, so I'm just gonna say Silsian. It's gonna be like this, okay? It's probably not like this, but Silsian. This invading alien species, they actually crash on Hadrian's planet, and we learn a lot more about them than what we previously thought. So in this planet where Hadrian was for the past, 4 years, I think, there are some very mysterious ruins that nobody really knows who made them. I talked about this in my previous update. We don't know who made them. We don't know who constructed them. And this alien species, the Silsian, they actually worship these people. They actually went to this planet not to invade, not to cause a war, a battle, anything. They just went to this planet because, one, they generally thought that it wasn't occupied by humans, which rookie mistake, because us humans, we are a plague. Let me tell you, we are a plague. And second, they just wanted to pray. That was the only thing. So now we learn new things, and I'm actually quite invested because I'm like, who are these people? I do have some theories. For example, I do think these ruins were built by humans, because we do know that there are humans who are considered traitors that live outside of the solar system of the human empire. They are considered traitors because they don't really worship what the main religion of this world worships, which I think is a chantry. It's the religion that believes that, a planet is going to show up if we pray hard enough, I guess. So, they are considered traitors, and I believe that these were the people that maybe built them. I don't know, it's a working theory, because the Silsian also, they have said, all humans are the same. You humans are all the same. And this expression really called out to Hadrian, because he was like, wait a second. Like, have you met other humans? Like, where have you met other humans? If you live outside of our solar system, how did you meet other humans? So Hadrian got to the conclusion of like, oh, like, you must have met the humans that also live outside of our solar system. I don't know if this is a spoiler. I'm gonna put a spoiler warning, but I don't really think it's that huge of a spoiler, if I'm being honest, but I'm gonna put a warning there. I'm sorry, I really said I wasn't going to talk about spoilers, but I just have to. I just really have to. I have so many theories, and I don't know if this one is correct, though. It's still a work in progress, but I am interested to know what the second book entails. I think I'm gonna give this series, 3 books a chance. If by the 3rd book I'm not, like, highly invested, then I don't think I'm gonna continue, because they are 7 books, but honestly, for a first book, I am impressed. I really like the author's writing. I like how he describes things. The setting is very well explained, even though I'm not really into science fiction at all. It's just not really my thing. It is very well written, very well structured. I never felt like I needed something more from the world building. The author gave us a lot of context for what was happening, and I really do appreciate that. Like I said, the writing was also amazing. I just missed a little bit more of the story, but it really did pick up at the end, and it does pick up, I promise. And I do want to read the second book, which is quite nice. It wasn't a 5-star like I thought it was going to be. The beginning really had the potential to be a 5-star, but then it just stopped having a plot for some reason, and I was like, okay, Okay, like, it's just really not going to be a 5-star, which is sad, but the quest continues for that 5-star read. But nonetheless, it's still a 4-star book. It's very solid. I would recommend this book if you do really enjoy science fiction. You're going to really like this book, especially also, not only if you like science fiction, but if you really like high fantasy, I would recommend this book as well, because the way that this book is written really reminds me of high fantasy, and I think that's why I really didn't mind the science fiction aspects of this book, because it just, sometimes I even forgot that I was in space, legitimately, I sometimes forgot that I was reading science fiction, because it really feels like high fantasy narrative. And I really hope you enjoyed this vlog, but sadly it does have to come to an end, because honestly I just don't really have much to say. So, and please don't forget to like and subscribe, because it does help my channel out a lot, and it gives me a lot of motivation and validation to continue filming these videos for you guys. And I will see you on my next video. Bye!